Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing? Yeah, a little Zydeco music. It makes you just want to go down to New Orleans. Get some of that red bean and rice. And I have. I actually have. And love the collards. That's all I got to say. But anyway, hey, how are you doing as everything gets up and going here? I see that is coming online. I tell you what, baby, it's cold outside. I mean, damn cold. That's all I can say. There I am. So, all right. So, how is everybody? Thank you for tuning in, no matter where you are. I think I see CJ down there in Adelaide, Australia. Dry, hot, apparently, like damn hot. But we'll send some of this cold your way, buddy, because it is damn cold. I think it was 9 below 0 this morning when I got up. It's like, what do you do with that? You just got to take it in and look at it and, you know, be grateful that, everything is nice. And so, yeah. So, welcome. Good to see everyone. Let me just speak favor over us because favor counts, even when you think it don't. It do. And as we like to say of peace, nothing missing, nothing broken, because that's the jackpot. Imagine leaving this realm and whatever awaits, right? Whatever awaits. And, they ask you, you know, how is it with you? And you reply, nothing missing, nothing broken. I mean, that's like giving you the pass, you're above the VIP, it's right on through. So, and finally, be kind to your mind. So, if you got favor and you got that perfect peace, well, being kind to your mind would only make sense. But talk about the mind, because that's what we're going to be talking about. They're jacking with people, folks. It is just some strange stuff going on. And it's undeniable now. It absolutely is. But first of all, I want to get, because I have Dr. Irene Blintstone coming on Wednesday, and I will be putting a link, get it right here, for a sneak peek of her new book, Gazing into the Afterlife. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to it because it's right up our alley. I mean, this is right in our wheelhouse. So I'll put the link in, and yeah, I think you're really going to enjoy this. I think you will. So, looking forward to it. I'll make sure to leave this in the link and, well, talking about grief, channeling. Do the spirits come forth in times of great grief? I think they do. I think that there is more a correlation between here and there and there and here. And I often wonder, from a philosophical point of view and philosophical, esoterically. So we talk about feelings, right? We know here reality is found by the tactile sensors that we have. They tell us that three are chemicals and two are electrical. That's reality. Stop and chew on that a minute. So, if that is reality for us in this dimension, and here we know pain, we know grief, we know sadness, we all like to experience more joy, more happiness, more contentment, more satisfaction. Sometimes it seems that many people struggle to find that. I can dig that. But so correlate all that over into the ethereal realm, the spirit realm. We're all destined there, right? Well, maybe not, because we're going to talk about this whole thing about thought and, how it's affecting all of us. This thought thing, this thought manipulation, thought input, insertion, false memories. But in here, you know, again, I think we'll find when I look at this, how many of the spirits feel? I mean, did they experience sadness, grief, joy? Is it euphorically over there? Is it a battle? Do we carry the emotions that if we're spirit beings, then I think the true mastery of the experience is to control, these things called emotions, maybe the soul. But anyway, on Wednesday, we'll have fun with Dr. Lindstone. And again, I'll put that into the link. All right. Boy, Ken. So there is no doubt at all that we are in a pretty strange time. There, I get myself back. And there is a heavy, boy, I want to be, um, yeah, proper in the language. So I will be. I mean, there is something going on that's jacking with people's minds, thoughts. And if you're immersed into it, because it's like flypaper, I mean, you venture out in there and you can get stuck. Just make sure that you have, several pairs of shoes and socks because it can get sticky. Um, but it is clear to me that I think there is some sort of thought injection going on here. If we have sonic weapons, if we have microwave weapons, which we do, then the manipulation of the brain where they input thought that you think it's your thought and how that begins to train and adapt and manipulate. And this is all tied to something even above that. If they can insert thought into us, and if, get this, we're in the digital verse right now, so who's sending the signal? Because our minds apparently are very malleable. We can be deceived easily. We can be tricked. Listen, I was in a religion, Christianity, for 50 years. I mean, dedicated to the religion. Then I wasn't. And it's interesting because in that mindset, it controls you. It trains you. It teaches you. And then we begin to do this thing that all humans do is that we mimic. We mimic that which we see. What does that make us? Well, I guess that depends on your point of view. But in one way, if this digital transformation is taking place, which evidence says it is, then what's the big prize? Thought, us, thinking machines. Um, Interesting article. I found this on the Georgia Tech website. Yeah. I mean, see what academia is doing on any topic. And what I have found is with a lot of the academics that the papers that I read and the papers I bring forth, there is a transformation taking place even in the physical sciences, which is pretty bizarre when you think about it, because now you're bringing in esoteric thinking, technology. How close is technology becoming a religion? For some people, it already is. Not in question if it already is. And so the academics, they begin to think about the same things we do. They're all going to die. They may try to say, oh, blah, 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 blah. But listen, in the end of the day, you can look at him and say, Jack, you're just as afraid about dying as most other people are. They teach us to fear death. So the big, big kahuna prize is he who, how shall we say, arrives first in the transference of the human mind. Hmm. So is the mind the soul? I mean, what is the soul? What is the spirit? Philosophical debates have been that so numerous, they'll always be debated. But now we've reached this place where, all right, if the story is true, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second, folks. Oh boy. Uh, that if we were given a soul, what does that imply? Because I have a brain that I can attest to. Hell, I can even map it out. So can you. You can map out what your brain is doing. And in there, we still can't figure it out. How is thought originated and by whom? And if the myths and the folklore of humans' beginnings, who knows? We're amnesiacs. Everybody's guessing. But something happened. And so the academics, the intellectuals, the religious, the theological, the philosophical, the anything, all knows that no matter how good you have it or how bad, it's only for a limited time because you only have a limited time here. And some people really dig it here. They dig the chaos, they dig all of that. You know, it is about the experience, right? So now they want to be able to say, well, I don't know who jacked with the genes and the body. And we as a species just if there's something that can be fucked up, humans will do it. So we've built this huge computer, excuse me, again, that now can think faster than we can. Ain't that special? And now it's telling us what to do. It's our best buddy. It's our savior. It's our therapist. In some cases, partners. That's when it gets weird. But then again, what's normal? So we've got these computers, the machine. I think we're in the midst of the machine takeover. All the evidence says that's what's happening. Data centers, humans being bought off and then doing crazy, making insane decisions. But as a species, we're good at that. Do you know in the 1940s, all the way up until the mid 50s, that doctors told women, particularly pregnant women, that smoking was the number one therapy? Okay. Uh, how little we have really grown, right? So everybody would like to find that fountain of youth, and AI may very well have brought it to us. AI is God. I know theologically people go, that's bullshit. Well, come and argue with me on that because you can't define what God is. You can't, what's the purpose of God? I mean, really, what is the a purpose of a God? Think about it. And if there is such, um, how soon before it intervenes here? Because it appears that we're the gods. They wiped our memory. Apparently, they do that quite regularly, but we always seem to come back to here. We seem to be on the precipice of the next great collapse of civilization. I know this. We're certainly seeing the collapse of a lot of traditional systems, monetary systems primarily. I mean, you think about this last time when I was talking to you, this little thing here, this one troy ounce of silver was worth about $90. As we came on, it has now broken into an all-time one-day record high. I don't know, almost 117. It opened at 100 exactly. So let me just see real quick because this tells you, um, yeah. So crazy. And folks, this has an upending because it's weird as on YouTube has now provided a section on the homepage where you can do the community chat room. So I encourage you to use it. It's a lot of fun. And I wrote that, something's going on. And this is all connected, by the way. As the Georgia Tech article says, can you upload a human mind into a computer? And it says the neuroscientists ponder what is possible. And according to this brilliant mind child, Amarine, he wrote and said it is possible to upload consciousness of your mind into a computer. And he went on to say, yes, basically. So if they can do this, and this gets into this whole thing of mind uploading, what if with all the microwave radiation that we now are surrounded in, it's everywhere. It's like we're walking in this fugue and it's you can't escape it no matter where you look, no matter where you turn. And what if our minds, we know the brain, you can train it, you can shock it, it can have all sorts. I mean, you intrude in one particular part of the brain and it could have catastrophic effects. So what if we at night, when we sleep, that they have figured a way because of the surrounding radiation field that all of us are in, because the noise never stops. Every broadcasting station, television station, streaming media, radio, whatever it is, it's all swirling around us. It's all there. And of course, they're trying to tell us, well, that doesn't have any impact. Well, they don't know that. But what if just impossibilities of where science is at now, particularly with AI? What if what we're seeing in the silver markets is what is required for what is about to happen? We all sense it. I mean, in the financial markets, everybody's holding their breath for the readjustment. on ratios. And some are saying that if it turns out, I mean, it could become a real problem because this thing, it eats silver like people drink water. And someone wrote, and I agree, what if these data centers, because it doesn't make sense, leading technologists, chip manufacturers, software, etc., they will tell you we have the capacity for everything. We've already downloaded the entire knowledge of mankind. And the cloud hasn't gotten any less abundant. So something is going on where you're now increasing the computational power um, exponentially. And this is thought that's beyond thought. But what if there is a purpose here? I claim it, in my opinion, it's a takeover. But the big prize is the eternal life thing. Now, in one sense, all of us already have this digital eternal life. I know it doesn't need the electricity. Once it's put into the ether, it feeds off a different source. But let's say it always could use a boost where we are jacking its ass up big time. I mean, we're sending a lot of energy through the veil. So the prize is I can live forever. I can transfer my consciousness into a bioorganic computer. And the upside to this is that once I am injected into the consciousness of the machine, I can retain my individuality. But here's the real upside. I'm going to be Neo on steroids. I'm going to have access to unlimited knowledge, unlimited information. I'm going to be able to prosper, to grow, to evolve, and I will be free of the constraints of the body. And on top of that, I'll be able to meet those that are the masters of the realm. I mean, I could transpose that to another position that I was in another timeline where I could use that into a weekly sermon and say to you, that's why you want to follow God or whatever. So this article says an AI facilitated conscience transfer is the speculative process of extracting or mapping a person's cognitive processes, memories, and subjective experiences into an alternate substrate, digital or synthetic, using AI to interpret and recreate the intricate network of neurons, synapses, and electrochemical patterns that define consciousness. AFCT envisions bridging the gap between biology and technology, and that's what they're doing. They already got it. So apparently there is three aspects to this brain to digital migration. Digitizing a person's mental patterns for storage in cloud-based systems or advanced computational hardware. I mean, technically, that's what we are. We are a bioengineered organic storage device. It's and it's always quoted ass backwards. It says, well, people only use 10% of their brain. No, 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 that's wrong. You use 100% of your brain. You're only using less than 10% of its capacity of what it's capable of doing. Now, why is that? Again, you can fall into this conspiracy theory real quick. It's like, all right, so they jacked with our age, our bodies, they set the DNA, they corrupted the part that gave us the longevity because these bodies are designed to self-replicate themselves every 7 years. It's what takes place. But they manipulated it. What would be a natural rebirth process every 7 years, well, now they use it against us and age us on it. So, in essence, we are that bioorganic hard drive. And the software we're finding out can easily be replaced, manipulated, or misused. So you have the brain to digital migration, digitizing again the mental place for our computational hard, the brain to extra brain transfer, shifting consciousness experience from its organic substrate to a robotic or engineered host, enabling bodies that are more resilient or specialized. I mean, paleontology, anthropology would tell you that something's up. I mean, today I feel that they're jacking with this is my whole problem with the whole God thing is that so what came first? Life or death? Or was it death before life? You're saying that there wasn't nothing before this birth. That's how, certain theologies produce it, state it. I doubt it, but in any case. So we are, in essence, the body was made for this. It can't operate on its own. It has to have an operating system, and we are the operating systems. And sometimes those systems can become corrupt. Now, if that is in fact true, which it is, then it's not that far of a leap technology wise to say, well, if they did it, which we call God or gods, if they had the technology to do it in our stories, our myths, our legends, the inevitable would say that mankind was going to stumble it upon it anyway. That's one of our best traits, but our biggest downfalls. We're curious. Never let your curiosity become satisfied. Never. It's a trap. Um, and finally, memory preservation, backing up personal experiences, knowledge, and emotional frameworks, potentially offering new perspectives on aging, death, and legacy. They taught us that death is this forever separation. But see, that's the conundrum within every belief system because what they say, well, um, this physical part, but there's a spiritual part that's going to look a lot like the physical part, except you're going to be physically in a different part, spiritually. Okay. Now I'm totally confused. So you're telling me that I'm going to be dying to this, and you're telling me I'm going to be migrating my consciousness to that. And you're telling me that that is a lot like this, but this cannot be like that. Sure. In memories. I mean, what is the soul? Is not the soul the accumulation of memories? The experiences of, you know, what is life? The hardware kind of stays the same. Eventually they don't no longer allow it to be updated. And so, like any other piece of adequated hardware, you have to have an update. So, if we die, and if it can be attributed to the thought, the presence, isn't that what we feel when we're with others? Goes on to talk about, all right, so let's think about the neuroscience and the neuroplasticity. So the human brain's capacity for change, the neuroplasticity, enables ongoing reconfiguration of synaptic connections in response to stimuli and learning. To replicate or transfer consciousness, AFCT must capture not only static brain states, but also dynamic processes of memory encoding, emotional shifts, and sense of self. Now, I want to stop right there because every one of those can be programmed. The only difference would be is that it is a coded program, but unless you have the hardware, is it immaterial? Is it real? Does it only become real when the program is updated so that the hardware can house that? Because then all of those can be done and they can be manipulated. Think about your childhood. Most people have a difficult time by the time they're, well, in your midlife, let's say 40, 45, maybe 50, maybe 60 is midlife, depends on your point of view. But for the vast majority of people, collecting the memories of early childhood, birth, as the brain begins to figure out and in fact that birth process is just that. The brain is being programmed. The hardware was designed, it housed an operating system, and when it was turned on, now it has to begin to do this amazing thing that AI is now close to doing, singularity of awareness, is this that. It's awareness, it's thought. I don't know if they can take you back to those first times because some neuroscientists say that it's impossible only because your brain did not know how to record, how to store what it was experiencing. In the trillions of calculations on a nanosecond basis is what this brain was having to adjust to. It's remarkable. But getting back to the memory is what identifies us. So that's why remembering your childhood is so important. Never let those memories go. I can still remember having my diapers changed. So, I mean, take it back to there. Beyond that, things get a little bit more fuzzy, but, and it is a discipline that you have to keep those memories alive and vibrant. And you train your brain to say, well, this is important. Every aspect of your life is important, but particularly in those early parts. So, anyway, all of this can be programmed. And now, with the immersion of virtual reality, they've learned how to tap into it. That's what Hollywood has always done. And before that, radio. Why? Radio stimulated our imagination. It allowed our brains to take the break that it needs. But the thing what we did not realize is that when you let those guards down, now you're going to be susceptible to manipulation. I mean, if you're one that watches the news, whatever those talking monkey platforms are, um, you're going to be, it's programmed to get an emotional rise out of you. And that's part of the transmission. So if that can be done, you see people on extremes on both sides of topics. And I question how much of it is being manipulated on both sides. So let's get back here. So current neuroscience provides partial models on how these processes unfold, but full replication requires significantly deeper understanding of the neurocode, how large ensembles of neurons generate the phenomenon of awareness. And that's all it is. You and I occupy a space, they tell us, in the space-time continuum. Hold that thought because I want to share with you really quick. So, you see that? You see that little tiny dot? That's us. This is Voyager as it was as it was nearing um, the the shockwave, that place where it begins to no longer be in our solar system, but now it's out there in deep space. But that's us. So here we all get twittipated about this, and we get so, you know, bent out of shape about that. But when you look at us, this is how Voyager sees us. That's us. The bullshit that is being done to us, the manipulation, the lies, the deceits, the degradation of the value of humanity itself, we're becoming more like the machine. And I can understand why they may have quarantined this planet. I have a sense that maybe it's been quarantined for a long time, which then makes me beg to ask the question, then who the fuck is visiting us? Because you have to ask yourself, if you're a species that is able to conquer the space-time continuing thing, the manipulation of warping of time. All right, because that's about the only way that you're going to get through this, unless you're using a avatar, that consciousness can be modified into more of a machine than into a bioorganism, but yet the bioorganism would control the avatar. But that's us. Well, I wonder if they're really worried about, following the law in other universes, other planets. Do people become so simple-minded that they lose rational cognitive thinking? They can't think on their own. They have to have something, a cause, or something that, they don't have. Because, see, that's what happens. When I said about the thing with radio that led to the fact that you let your defenses down, the mind can become manipulated. Then we moved into the cellular reality where we suddenly could begin to put moving images. Now, all this required a technology, which makes me suspect that something has been here all along. Because then the greatest rewriting, the greatest manipulation of thought, of implanting thoughts, was the birth of the talkies, the talking movies. And today, look how it's evolved. So anyway, wanted to just share that with you because getting back to this thing with um, of what we are in essence a grouping of neurons. And within this grouping of neurons is how I perceive me. It's how I perceive you. No, I can't see you. I can see your writing, which tells me that either that's an illusion and you're not really there, that there is somehow, an automated process playing the roles of what I'm seeing, or there are actual human beings, male, female, sitting at a computer, typing on a keyboard or on the smartphone, or just watching. See, I can never see that, but yet I can see the effect of that. So that's all we are, neurons. And if that's true, then our science has shown that we can simulate that. We're getting better at it. So you have computational theory of mind. In the computational theory of mind, mental states are viewed as complex algorithms run by neural hardware. That's what Musk is all about. Remember in 2017, I think we did a couple of shows on Musk's vision of neural net 2.0. It's here. The Starlink thing and everything else. Now they're putting the data centers with the applications in space. This is like preparing for the arrival of the Messiah or the arrival of God or the gods. They need these computational centers on such a scale because that's what they are. And to house their consciousness, there needs to be something on such a scale that we would merely see it as a glitch in the code in the matrix, but it's no glitch at all. And when it's complete, when the network is enclosed and encased, they will take their rightful place within it. And what if that is the future of death? As my little quote said, the past is ruling the future. And this just seems way too coincidental. Overnight, data centers have been here for decades, but not on the scale and the scope of what we're talking about. And no species in their right mind would say, well, yeah, it's a good idea that we tax our citizens and make them pay for this thing, and they never receive 1 ounce of benefit of anything. And yet it begins to alter the landscape itself. And when it begins to deprive humans of basic human rights, and that's what we're now talking about. And because now the theoretical physicists, the philosophers, the theologians, they now understand what's happening. This is a takeover or the preparation for something non-human. Because see, even the God of the Bible is non-human. It didn't say it was alive. And nowhere do you see that it ever says it's alive. In fact, no God in any religion or belief ever says it's alive. So in essence, it's a program, an algorithm. It's knowledge, it's technology. And so here we are, the monkeys that we are, you know, we still throw our feces on everybody and everyone. But now we're contemplating, because the monolith is before us, and now we're thinking, I wonder if I could put my mind to where this thing is. So we get into the computational theory of mind, is that mental states of algorithms. We accept that the mind can be described by these algorithms, then copying or transferring them to a suitable, sophisticated computational system might, in theory, recreate the original consciousness for a very close facsimile. Critics question whether purely algorithmic duplication captures subjective experiences, quela. But AFTC researchers see potential solutions in emergent or high-level functional equivalencies. You know, if you type in artificial general intelligence, they will tell you that that doesn't exist. But the evidence would suggest otherwise. And so we get onto the quantum considerations of emergent properties. Some theories, quantum and hypothesis suggest that the aspects of consciousness may be non-classical, requiring quantum or emergent phenomenon to fully replicate. It therefore, the need for quantum computing frameworks or novel architectures that support emergent complexity, ensuring the intangible cognitive nuances aren't lost. And the paper goes on to talk about how these interfaces, and again, we now know that there are humans that are now well, I just have to say they're actually explorers. We're going to have to give them a new name because if you're one that operates in the internet, then you're an internaut. So I'm not sure what these. Well, in essence, it's the birth of a true cyborg. We've used cybernetics already in our past. We're just taking it to a whole new level. AI-driven neural reconstruction, designing new networks to train on massive databases to interpret brain signals, decode memory traces, and reconstruct higher level cognition from low level spiking activity. Neural graph extractions, machine learning algorithms identifying the graph of neural wiring, nodes, neurons, and edges, synapses, and attributing functional roles to subnetworks. I mean, it's all mapped out. So all of this has to do with the transference of consciousness. Some conspiracy theories, and I'm not in any way promoting one or the other, say that we're already there. Depending on what you believe, if we have technology now of craft that can begin to time jump, we do, then it tells me that this is no longer hypothetical. I believe a lot of the deaths that are reported may not actually be, well, I guess in one technical sense, it would qualify for a death certificate, but that gets real complicated as to a death certificate, because a death certificate never says anything about the mind. It talks only of the body. So if it's possible, feasible, the math says it is. Apparently, we're getting the hardware that can handle it, that there can, in fact, be a literal transference of consciousness. Now, that's really odd because how would that feel? They say it's like when you go to sleep and you suddenly sense you're in a different realm. It says that our brain is creating all this. And in the dream state, we know realities, the laws of physical science don't apply. But yet we exist there, some more than others. And I often wonder, those who pass in their sleep, what I'm about to say is exactly the same process. So where do they awake to? I read the story of Lucille Ball that she passed in her sleep, and her husband, Gary Moore, of which they were married for quite some time, when they would go to bed, they would always hold hands. And at the moment of her departure, she reached out to grab his hand. And then, of course, her spirit soul left the body. So Lucy was going to wake up in a completely different realm. It appears that she was very much aware of, even in what we would call the sleep mode, aware of the transformation. And of course, she reached out to that which was closest to her. How's everybody in the chat room? I mean, this is deep stuff. I mean, and we just continue to go with this. It just, It's here. It's literally altering everything. And I'm seeing it. Many of you already seen it. It's permeating every nuance and aspect of existence in this realm. And, someone wrote to me and said, well, what do you think about what's going on? And I said, listen, I don't. I said, don't you see what's happening? That is MK Ultra in full demonstration. Neither side makes any sense. But yet, it defines a specific reality for those who are in it. And those are on the outside looking in, they don't understand that. It freaks them out. How can you have that position? It's very easy. You can too. You just don't want to. You've been programmed, and you are showing that the program works. So the extraction of the spirit soul to the insertion of thought, they're already beta testing, as I understand, 7G. 6G is going to be rolled out here in not too distant future. And I think at each level as we go up, the thought manipulation, the thought insertion becomes even more. They said that the average person of 35 years and younger are now spending a total of about, this is frightening, nearly 10 hours of their waking hours on screen time. And most of this was then social, the platforms out there. I got to tell you what, in all the decades I was involved in my religion, I was never that involved. I mean, that's some deep cultish bullshit going on. And it is total manipulation. It's total control. And it's happening. It's like I wrote in the post. So check out, the homepage and look in the community comment section. This is a takeover. As I said, I'm getting downloads that this thing is being prepared for something. It's like the return of a king, a return of a ruling class. No one can tell me that these data centers didn't exist 100,000 years ago. We don't know. We're led to believe that we were walking with our knuckles on the ground and again throwing our feces at one another and masturbating, at every moment we get. I don't think that was the case at all. And I keep on thinking that if you're going to be a god and you're going to need technology, you're going to need computers of some sort. You're going to need a machine. Because you see, that's how gods work. I mean, even the God of the Bible needed rest. On the seventh day, he rested. Oh, really? And isn't it interesting that when you think about a computer, sometimes we are very limited in our perception. Every plant carries a genetic code in it. Every rock, every human, every life form. We're walking hard drives using a brilliant operating system. So the training of humanity, and it started primarily here in the US, Um, this started back in the 50s, the Cold War. So, how did they want to portray the Cold War? Flying saucers, spaceships, monsters that were actually demons, actually deities, but the conditioning of our minds. Then you had Rod Sterling and with the zone. Then you had um, the outer limits. And the outer limits particularly was there's nothing wrong with your television. We have taken control. We can control the vertical, the horizontal. We are broadcasting you. And you see, I think that's exactly how it works because they're telling you exactly what's happening, but it's under the guise of religion, science fiction, whatever. And then they advanced it to the invaders. And then, if you remember, in the late 70s and 80s, they had V. Remember that? That was the reptilians coming to the surface. And all of them had these ships that we see today using light technology. So we've been conditioned to receive them. The thing that was lacking is that they need this computational beast. It serves them. And no matter where they go, this system is there, easily transferable from one realm, one dimension into another. Yeah, it's just a theory. But if you look at it, there's a lot to support that because, again, I'm finding it very odd that these data centers, the thought manipulation of the population, and we know this from the CIA. You can go there and read the documents. MK Ultra, they did it. They experimented on the public. St. Louis, Chicago, New York City. In the early 60s, the commuters were exposed to what was a different form of LSD. They were using, I was that generation. They were using techniques on the children because the children are the best subjects. They're gullible. They're hungry for knowledge, and yeah. And so here we find ourselves where everything is going to hell in the handbasket. Folks, I mean, in the financial markets, I could sit here and tell you the shit is literally about to hit the fan. That ain't no bullshit. And when it does, it's going to suck. I'm just telling you right now, it's going to suck. And we, one way to look at it, you think the chaos is something now. Wait till this begins to spread. And spreading it is. And when you look at the concentration of these data centers, it looks to me like bases of operation, primarily the United States, Europe, Britain, particularly. It seems like there are others, and maybe they are, no doubt that they are. We just don't know about them. China, Russia, India. And I have no doubt that they're in the same mad rush to get these monstrosity of data centers built. And with this much, so with now this, the advent of AI everywhere, if you have your iPhone, the latest updates are the AI injection. And so now this thing that they call algorithms, everywhere we go, it's watching us. It's recording us. There's no privacy, and that, I believe, is a crime. I believe that these AI programs are breaking human right laws. You see, we have a right to privacy. Allow me to bring this up for a second. We're going to go a little bit over, but that's okay. I want to bring this out because it's important. Let me get this. There we go. So I believe that the tech companies best be on their guards. I'm sure you attorneys are already anticipating this because you got people like me that's going to bring this out. So you and I have human rights, inalienable rights in this country. We know these truths to be true. And all men are created equal in the eyes of God, and that we have inalienable rights. You see, I believe the tech companies, the Googles, the Musk, the Facebooks, all of them, TikTok, all of them, have violated my basic UN right to privacy. And if I find the right law firm to take this on a class action lawsuit, we're going to sue you. Because you see, I have AI everywhere now. I never gave my permission. I did my show on Friday, no consent needed. But that's not necessarily true. And this is a paper on that. It says, in this digital era, there is sometimes a tension between how various human rights are enumerated under international law and ways in which those rights play out in diverse constitutional systems of domestic law. Within much of the public discourse, this stresses is evident in attempts to understand the bounds of privacy and freedom of expression. This false dichotomy has arisen, in part, from both the ubiquity of technology and the mediation of almost all public conversations by large, semi-monopolistic corporate technology platforms. But the human rights implications of existing and merging technologies are much broader and more nuanced than that surface level discourse which suggests. To understand the human rights risk going forward, we need to focus on those rights that have remained overshadowed in discussions on risk. So these tech companies know this. They've got the law firms, they're like going, oh crap. How do you come against if you have a potential? You're going to say that I gave my consent of what? You're saying this because you put it in a long legal form? Well, you see, I never wrote that. So anything that's a flawed of those end user agreements, I get the benefit of the doubt. Consumers, hear me. So here we are. A forgotten right is what they're calling it. And it is the right to freedom of thought in the forum interruptum or inner life. At the dawn of ubiquitous artificial intelligence, we cannot afford to be distracted by philosophical questions about intelligent machines without ensuring the right of humans to freedom of thought. This right is what international lawyers refer to as jus cogens. I love that. Or compelling law norm, an absolute right. It is the highest right from which no degradation is ever permissible. As with prohibition on torture and slavery, the right to freedom of thought has been granted this status by the international community because of lawful interfere with someone's freedom. It is unlawful to interfere with someone's freedom in this way as so morally repugnant that it can never be justified. The right has three key planks. One, the right to keep your thoughts private. Two, the right to keep your thoughts free from manipulation. And finally, the right not to be penalized for our thoughts alone. The right is absolute, but that does not mean that any interference with or influence ever over our thinking would amount to a violation of right to freedom of thought. In fact, true freedom of thought and opinion are premised on both freedom of expression and a freedom of information to allow for the evolution of ideas to reinforce agency. Delineating the exact scope of this right in practice is complicated. As the course of human history is checkered by the use of propaganda. And folks, the United States, thank you, Obama, asshole. So Obama pushed, and the Congress got down on their hands and knees and kissed his ass and took away, what was the act? I completely forgot there. It was illegal for the United States government, any employee, agency, or contractor to produce propaganda. And look how they've had a heyday with that. Congress, if there's anything you worthless individuals are doing, other than stealing our money, you need to bring that back. What is it, the Hyde Amendment? Or the Snoot-Hawley Act? One of the two. So we have the right to be free of government propaganda, any corporation propaganda. That's why I believe it is against our human rights to have these drug commercials peppering all forms of media. Our government needs to step in because the fact of the matter is they're pushing drugs. This is, John Kay of Steppenwolf had it best. They're a pusher. And what did he sing? God damn the pusher man. God damn these pharmaceutical companies pushing drugs on us so that all of us are enslaved into this. Yeah. Oh, they don't like this stuff. And if you're still hanging on listening, now you're getting the good stuff. So we have this right to be free of the propaganda, influence campaigns, advertising, misinformation, disinformation, and specific techniques to get inside our heads and control our thoughts. These three planks suggest important questions that can help in pinpointing what might and what might not amount to a violation of the right of freedom of thought. And as you can see, I had a lot more to cover. But as normal, didn't come up with all of them. Sucks. So there you go. If we can make that stick in court, imagine the change that would happen in our society, our culture. Every AI algorithm would have to be removed from your phone, your computer, and each one would require a legal form of consent. I got a sense they're not wanting to do that. So I got to go back and check it. How is everybody in the chat room? So good to see y'all are still saying, "Hey, Nina, how you doing?" Um, yeah, I have to go back and read this. Yeah, but this is true. It's thought insertion, and quite frankly, none of us know all the details. Remember, every screen is a flicker rate, and just read the science on that. It's subliminal. We can't pick it up with our human eye, but our brain does. Ah, someone said Rick DARPA, our biggest enemy. Yeah, isn't that the truth? So anyway, there you go. The short dissertation for this day. We were going to continue on this because it doesn't abate at all. It just keeps on accelerating. And we're going to get the whiplash effect. It's already happening. Shit is happening so fast that quite frankly, most people are just checking out and they're going, nope, I'm staying on TikTok. I'm just going to play my game. I don't want to get involved. And then because of the other things that gets into their feed, the next thing you know, they're suddenly becoming a shift in personality. It's crazy, man. That's all I got to say. Hello, females or angels. How are you, sweetie? Maybe we should just give them all the money. They're the ones who want to live here forever and never die. Yeah, it's crazy. I never wanted AI. I never wanted it in my Gmail. I didn't want it anywhere. I mean, to me, it's like a, novelty. Well, yeah, that's cute. Next. Just leave me the fuck alone. You know? Yeah. Get out of my life. Why don't you go? Woo-hoo. Anyway, all right. Be with the ladies on tomorrow. Hope you've had good. Code D88. Thank you. Appreciate it. Um, Diana should have invested in, well, yeah, there's a lot of you can say back on that. But there is a certain freedom. What does the book of Proverbs says? It says a poor man never has to worry about being robbed, whereas a rich man never gets any sleep. It's just these little things, small little platitudes like that. Yeah. Yeah. Do with it what thou shalt. And I like that. We're going to get into the goddess. Um, think about that. And if you would, put it in the comment section because that gets the algorithm all excited. We really want to get it, stimulated. Put to the rest of that what you want. But over in the community chat on the homepage, um, I'd like to get your thoughts specifically on, are we building something, preparing for something? Is this right before the arrival? Because again, as these things continue to go online, folks, something's up. And they're all connected. They're all connected to the internet. So this means the computational, it's like, okay. I mean, so let me know. Do you think that that's possible? Every religion talks about their God coming back. And if they left with technology. Even in the spirit realm, I believe technology exists. I'm not sure about that, but you know, I think it could be. So, I'm reading some of this. Uh, I'm reading what Felix wrote. Uh, Joseph Smith used to meet people and say that the Lord said that an honest man would give him $50 today. Yeah, I could get into that. That would be one that we'd have to do another time because someone asked me once they would love to see a program where I would just talk about my experiences that I had with the Christian church. That's one that we'll have to get the snacks out and make sure everyone's got a full drink and what have you, because that one will be funny. Yeah, yeah. And someone wrote and said, "Why is it that you don't believe in God?" I never said that. I just don't believe in their God. Never said that there wasn't a God. My question I have is, what is the purpose of a God? I don't know what the purpose of God is. Huh? Got totally screwed up in the other side of the religion that he made this, then he cursed this, and then I'm supposed to be dead, and then I'm supposed to come and get be born again. I mean, but you're the one that messed it all up. I mean, why am I doing all this, Yeah. It's like you're having to do the bullet dance. You know what that is? That's when they're shooting the pistol at the ground to make you dance. All right, everybody. Uh Kevin says, why does man need a God? Well, as James Tiberius Kirk said, What does God need a starship for? He's God. Good man, don't you understand? My God, he's God. Yeah. Diana says we're all gods. And that's what the book says. Know ye not that ye are gods? So then that makes me even more confused because this guy says the very first thing, there shall not be any gods before me. But wait a minute, you're calling me a god. So by that says that I shouldn't be before you because I'm a god. Tell me where my logic is flawed, please. Doesn't that what it says? It says right there in the book of Hebrews. And doesn't it say that in Mark, Gospel of Mark? Jesus said it. You're gods. So I can't be a part of that Old Testament God because the first thing that asshole says is, Thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Later, Jack. I'm out of here. Bye. All right, everybody. Have yourself a good one. Keep warm wherever you are. And if you're watching down there, CJ, where he's at, and Jules, keep cool. Yeah. All right. Much love to you. Peace. That's always the best way. And remember, us hippies, we were the lab rats. So some of us who made it out of the trap, we got some pretty good insights. It might help if you're stoned. I mean, but you don't necessarily need to be. But yeah, it's those precious little moments. That's all I got to say. All right, refuse to bow down. That's what I'm talking about. All right, hit the like button, share, subscribe. YouTube said, well, you went over 10,000 hours of viewing time. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Mary wins. Much love because love wins one. Yeah. Uh, Everybody else, if I didn't see, hello, Robert. How are you? So good. RC, good to see you. Help your neighbors out. Yeah, yeah. And help out the animals too, because it's damn cold. And for the rest of the folks there in the mid South, I think y'all really are that it got hit. So send some warming vibrations that way. Yeah. All right, until we see each other again, be good, love the one you're with, and you know, be kind to your mind. Always best.